Hey there, virtual racers. Thanks for clicking and drifting on by for a little look at The Crew 2 and what it has to offer players in 2022. Especially for a new player, like myself, who's just getting started. I got the game a while ago, but suffered from incessant crashing at startup for about a year or so. You kinda know from that already that I'm gonna be a little critical in this review about how it's performing. But I'm still awarding it points for creativity because I've secretly always wished for a game like The Crew 2 that would cater to my love for cars, planes, and MMORPG aspects at the same time. Bonus for the long list of vehicle types the game provides. Because The Crew 2 is a bit of a weird game. It's not a traditional racer. It has aspects of the arcade racer, but it includes quite a large variety of vehicles and travel for land, air, and sea. What it also does is unfold game progression through a series of story and campaign events in a gigantic open world map that roughly mimics the United States. We're able to build crews and we will find ourselves in open sessions with other players from across the world. You may even encounter them from inside a handful of areas where our characters appear outside of vehicles. It almost starts to resemble elements of an MMORPG laid over a racer simulator. While I've seen some of the other elements in racing games before, The Crew 2 puts it on steroids, and I'm looking forward to seeing all these storylines if I can find them all in this massive mess of menus. There is just so much going on. Although, just not with character customization, more of a selection really, but you will be able to change outfits from the comfort of your own amazing racer hangout. There's at least some fashions available as part of the game's grind, but it's part of its charm, and there's a whole list of collectibles that one can get out there racing or stunting. It eases you in with the typical street racing mode. It suspectly just seems like the average old racer game, and then BAM! It hits you with a whole new concept, flying. But then it drops you into the water, and you basically figure out how to steer around a boat. You've only just been given a taste of what's to come because as you unlock this massive menu UI, look for the 4 main categories in the activity menu for on-road, off-road, freestyle, and pro racing to unlock the headquarters associated with each. That's when you find out there's 4 different disciplines within each of those headquarters to unlock. Suddenly motorcycles, hovercraft, and monster trucks become part of the picture. It would be overwhelming if not simultaneously exciting. As the map fills with more and more activities, it's leading to some choice paralysis. As soon as a discipline is unlocked, you'll be able to browse the selection of what's available for purchase in that segment, which leads to ever-increasing vehicles. It's also possible to find suitable vehicles for events by hunting the map for sponsored races that provide a free vehicle upon completing the requirement. That can get you started out for the fame and the cash grind. If you don't want to grind, there's actually just a way to buy shortcuts for more car choices. This game primarily seems to work with 2 currencies, bucks and crew credits, but it also includes the mechanic of followers that largely affects how fast one can progress through the game to unlock new races or features. And it's all about the clout chase in this game, baby! Colored icons across this massive map from small to large. There's tons of activities to choose from while you stack up your follower count. Driving around the open map also means opportunities to find live loot crates or pick up the occasional side job through the driver's wanted tasks. There's a lot of comparisons that I could make to Forza Horizon challenges, but The Crew 2 has its advantages of offering even more variety of what's possible with all the different kinds of motorized things that we can pilot. You're not always racing to get across the finish line. Sometimes you're farming up stunt points or doing the equivalent of barrel racing with a speedboat to pick up objects floating in the water. It seems like they're attempting to cram everything that can be done into one game. So back to that huge menu. When you hit the escape button and playing on PC, you're blasted with a tiled screen of promotions and prompts simply called the Hub. It has a what to play suggestion window for a basic lottery of events that can push you forward in progression. If you already know what you want to do, you can jump straight into the map to look for it. There's also a link straight to the Motor Pass reward track window so that we can see our progress in the seasonal rewards. It lists the daily offering of challenges in case you need a checklist to cure your boredom. The next menu tab over is the catalog, which is basically an inventory of all the game's vehicles broken down by manufacturer. Fun browsing material to familiarize yourself with all that's in store that we haven't even gotten to drive in the first few hours of the game. Click over again, and this is where it starts getting densely packed within menus within menus. The profile section contains all the access to your driver's stats, achievements, and vehicle customization, along with the access to the story missions. It's also how you link up with friends and online crews so that you can roll together. Crew management is as easy as hitting B and finding the player you want in the list, then invite them for some fun. Their avatar will show up in the profile screen if the invite was successful and you're good to go. This was meant to be multiplayer after all, the more the merrier, while you collect up clout and hobby points. Within the profile menu are buttons to track how many points you're accumulating towards the hobby and motor pass rewards. The pilot option flips to a screen of stats about the playtime and other metrics. If you really want to know how much you've invested into the game, there's a further statistics screen chock full of information. Narratives lets you play back the artistic cutscenes laced throughout the game, and in my time, I am but barely reaching famous, not yet considered an icon, but I can see more opportunities in life probably would open up when I do. There seems to be a lot of playtime in this game if you're planning on doing any endgame. This profile tab is also where you'll find the player gallery of photographs taken on all those photo challenges you were sent on. This game centers a mechanic around collecting more followers by making sure you get everything on camera. Not that I mind this at all. One of my pastimes is doing motorsports media, so the Crew 2 ticks off every box in my fantasy for a racing game. In addition to specific photo scavenger hunts, players also have the random snap of their activities to collect followers who are viewing their stunts. This secures the follower count at an opportune moment. The game offers a unique in-game video editor option with free camera mode to pan around as you wish while in replay. Within the vehicle button, this is where we find all of our cars, planes, boats, and other things we own. It's also how we modify them to perform better or look more to our liking. Completing races and activity yields loots in the form of performance upgrades that are found here. Select the vehicle, the parts to swap out, and then the modification that you want to use. Easy as that to install. The Cosmetic section gives us quite a wide array of color and finish choices, including some of the wilder paint jobs that one might expect to see, like the chameleon shades. But if you need to get even more elaborate, the Vinyl Sticker Creator has a number of layerable objects that can be cleverly pieced together to make impressive graphics. Reward or purchased vanity items can be located here and then installed onto your rides when you want. If you wanted to spend hours making the optimal look for your cars and other machines, that's certainly possible to burn up that kind of time in these menus. We pick up loot up off the ground just like we would in any other RPG adventure. After completing a race, having won the challenge assigned to it, any number of random loot will appear in a neon glow. Driving near them will add them to your inventory found underneath the vehicle menu. It can be installed or turned into scrap. This scrap is then used for a process called recalibration. With this, car parts start looking like armor pieces, one which eventually come with re-rollable stats. The loot comes in a variety of common, uncommon, rare, epic, and eventually legendary. Now, does that seem familiar? Rare and epic parts will have random added bonus abilities like faster nitrous refill or increased charge for more loot drops. These are called affixes. Recalibrating with spare part rolls to the dice gets us different affixes to improve our performance. And I'll skip this stories button for a moment. But I have not even gotten to the meat of this game menu. The windowed overviews is all that we're doing. The Activities tab is broken down into the 4 main categories for racing, which have the 4 more disciplines within each. Here we can track our percentage of all of the events scattered across the map and see what level of clout we've got to reach in order to unlock more kinds of vehicles. First up is what any of us might expect from a racing game, the street racing category, which further breaks down into drifting, drag racing, and includes the hypercar class. I don't feel like these racing sections need a ton of elaboration. Categories are self-explanatory, but I'll run through at least a list of types of racing possible, because it's actually a pretty impressive list. The second menu wouldn't seem too unusual for a racing game either, or at least not until further progression through the off-roading events. Here we can find both Rally Raid and Rallycross, along with Motocross and the addition of hovercrafts. That's right, dirt bikes and hovercrafts. Suddenly the typical has gone out the window and we're working with some completely new platforms. Shift over to the third box and we have the freestyle category, which includes a mixture of land, air, and sea activities through the incorporation of demolition derby, acrobatic air stunts, monster trucks, and jet sprint boats to weave through narrow rivers. There's really starting to be something for everyone on this racing menu. Bored of one thing? I'm sure you can find something else to amuse yourself. Graduating on now to the fourth box, we get to dabble in some pro racing leagues through the usual touring cars, also sea boats for the open oceans, air racing in case mere stunts are not enough, and the good old Formula car action. Not only will it require proving your stuff through the plot your characters are playing through, but the cars themselves are a pretty penny to save up for. Woo-woo. Even the overview of the game's features is getting long-winded, but that's how much is packed into the Crew 2. And I haven't even got into the specifics about all the other smaller challenges that can be done out in the open world for the purpose of this. Just know that they're a fun way to kill time and accumulate progress. If nothing else, pick up a delivery job just to drive for a bit to enjoy the scenery. The team took a lot of liberties altering the landscape, but some city areas at least include landmarks and somewhat accurate looking environments to the real places. I can say that the in-game Laguna Seca location is at least a replica of the real deal. At one time the signage looked this way, all decked out in Mazda, but it's since been converted to the new funding company, WeatherTech. The track would be approximately where the Sonoma, Infineon, Sears Point, or whatever name you know it by, but this one is far from the real-life counterpart. If only Sonoma had that actual view of the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, it would be far more fabulous than it actually is. Sheep pasture is the background in real life. Driving through the small patch that represents San Francisco is fun. There are some map points that I've totally been to. Car clubs do meet right here, in parking lots, along this beach on the coast of SF. Perhaps the map has locations around your home area that are comparable. If you want to, replicate an exotic car rally in multiplayer and drive from coast to coast like some of the folks around here do. I used to do a lot of photography for that stuff, but I just haven't felt like it much in the last few years. I've been busy with detailing. Actually, I'm making a video for Detail Simulator in case anyone might be interested in that. I'm doing it with my buddy Trustworthy, someone that's on the channel playing with me pretty regularly. He's a detailer in real life. We do work on some interesting cars from time to time, so we'll get his opinion on what he thinks of the simulator compared to his real job. Our lives working in Silicon Valley has us coming into contact with some cars featured in the hypercar section on a regular basis. In many ways, the Crew 2 would be considered an RPG of what it's like being a photographer around here, trying to get photos of extreme machines and putting it all online. I actually did that for a while with Treadlife, a brand I created under some really odd circumstances, which is a long story, and maybe someday I'll get around to making a video about it eventually because it explains how I ended up in situations like this one, photographing from the last turn at Indy Finals. It's not quite a story that fits well here though, so we'll skip to the game's plot. Yes, and I switched subjects just that quick, just like we can click on anywhere in this map and hop right to it. Like heading home to Miami, Florida, to a multi-floored facility that will expand through the game to accommodate more vehicle displays. There's an elevator at the center of the space with which to access different floors, and I noticed the little decorations within the building actually change over time with the upgrades. Everything just gets a little more fancy while retaining the minimalist style. It might very well come close to what a lot of car enthusiasts would call a dream home, with this much space to park their beloved models inside to gawk at. The racing suit display on the main floor is actually a closet for changing character customization options. Posters and memorabilia from your adventures are everywhere. More of it starts to show up as you complete the objectives associated within them. It's a cute little version of player housing that actually has a little interactivity. This is where we get into the more RPG aspect through seasonal themed campaigns. These can throw in a variety of how we play. Taking out the outlaws early on in the San Francisco objective is just straight up ramming into NPCs for fun. The whole thing is being laced together with lines of NPCs talking you through your career or squawking at you during races. You'll be taking on the role of a stunt driver for the Motorflix series and picking up plenty of rewards along the way. Currently, the game's in Season 6, hosted by pro drifter Chris Forsberg and called Dominion. All these seasons follow a similar formula in bringing in new vehicles, events, and customization items to the game that go along with the new themed storylines, complete with cutscenes. Other relevant material is the Motorflix Stories, a section I held over from the driver profile. The small button in the menu leads to quite a few activities to do, because each one of these storylines will require several steps. Some as few as 3 and up to 12 tasks that we'll have to complete utilizing the Crew 2's large open world environment that spans from coast to approximate coast. There's a set of instructions on the left on the menu on how to pin the quest to your UI while driving to track the progress. Each story opens up a new window with additional information about what's happening that we'll unlock with every step that we finish. All of them have some pretty nice payouts, including vehicles and a lot of followers to collect. In this first mission, there's no cheat codes for the location given to be guided to. One has to use the description of the story to locate the objective. The game's topographical, Google-like map allows us to do a little recon work before just driving all over the place, then set a waypoint close to it. When reaching close enough to the story's endpoint, it will pop up a prompt to turn in, then providing you with the next step. Basically, it's a giant scavenger hunt tucked into the rest of a racing game. I think the overall game, it's probably drowned out by the sheer amount of activities available, but it's still a neat aspect that they use to patch in the new content. With the open world map, the quest-based storyline, player housing, and social headquarter hubs, the Crew 2 goes the extra mile in creating an elaborate, rich world by layering on those RPG features. It's a racing game, but not exactly. It's kind of a whole lot more, and it's hard to limit it to a category of racing game given the introduction of aerobatics and other stunt objectives. I'm not entirely sure what to classify it, but we'll just call it fun when it's not crashing. My love-hate relationship with the game is due to being restricted to playing it with a keyboard because neither my wheel or controller can be connected without crashing the software, reducing my computer to a lagging mess. And after a quick search online, I'm far from the only person with the issue on this thing, and it's disappointing that no solution has been found because I'm quite sure that playing with a wheel would have made this 10 times more delightful. I can't guarantee you that you won't want to rip your hair out trying to get it to work. I've tried plenty of troubleshooting steps and still unsuccessful. I just thought I'd put a fair warning out there. The Crew 2 could have gotten a high score for me if it had just not been denied the joy of the immersion of using my wheel or controller. Even if it's a wonky arcade-like inaccurate force feedback, I'd still like to find out for myself, but I can't even make it that far. It's gonna be a grind fest to buy some of these upper tier vehicles. It's a good thing that there's plenty of fun ways to get it done. Especially if you're hammering it all out with a buddy, or in a few multiplayer sessions. It's like killing hundreds of boars in World of Warcraft over and over again. It's just my slaying of tires instead. So if you're looking for a new grind, maybe this is the one for you. My only advice, racers, is send it. Take care, y'all, and bye-bye.